started the recording. We are on video as well. I can't see it, but just know that you are on video and audio. This is Dave McBride. Hold on, Portia's texting me. I don't know how to send a link in a text. You guys know how to text? I'm sure that I sent some link, but I just have the link in the email.
Just forward the email.
Yeah, go to the attachment and then say share. That might be easier.
Send the whole email.
Oh, she should have got it. She's in, okay. Okay, this is Dave McBride calling the meeting to order. It's 4:31 of the Property Reuse Committee. In attendance is myself, Bob Frank, Larry Dunn, Hal Zod, Lauren Gauthier, I believe Portia Bordelon is in attendance as well. I don't know if I have to. For a panelist, right? Okay, Portia, you're in.
Hi, just want to, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I apologize for not being in attendance due to the change or the error in the public hearing tonight for the budget that got moved. And then this meeting getting moved up earlier. I had volunteered to help out at the track meet at Fitch. And so I am here and I stepped away to be part of the meeting as best I can.
Okay, Lauren, I forwarded you. I have documents this evening that I've handed out to everyone here. Minutes of last meeting from March 22nd. And I've also forwarded a draft document of the property reuse current version. Hopefully, Portia, you've received that as well. Just bear with me. I'm trying to make sure Portia has the minutes.
I am all set. I reviewed all of those.
I did not see anything in my. Yep, I haven't seen those yet, but I will double check my inbox when I can and we'll let you know.
Okay, I just sent those. So, okay, great. So we'll call the meeting to order. The first item of business, or I'll wait until the end to give the two of you an opportunity to review the minutes that everybody here has received. And the only item of business is the old business. View and discuss the property reuse RFP process and TOP. I'm just going to kind of take the lead here. And after last week's discussion, last week's meeting and various conversations with John Burr and others, it seems like the focus is to move forward with the reevaluation RFP process first to make sure we're focusing on that. John Burr and others aren't. I don't think we're going to be able to move forward with the TOP as we presented it, and that there's some dissatisfaction in that it may be taken away from the administration and some of the role of the staff. John Burt has reviewed the document that we put together. This document that I presented tonight is a combination of his comments, a combination of John Reiner. One of the attorneys provided some comments. I think Paige provided some comments. So what I've tried to do is to merge the two documents together. In that this current document now has the first 2 pages or 3 pages, 4 pages, but they're half pages, so it's more like 3 pages, is modified version of the original document that was sent out, many months ago, including some of our comments, and then including the development of the TOP committee. But as you'll see when we go through it, the TOP committee is a little bit in a different framework. It's still extending the scope of the committee in terms of the 3 of you and others, but it's not going to be run by the way I have it presented here. It's going to be chaired by the town manager. It's going to be their committee, but everybody else is going to have representation on it. So we'll go through that in a minute. But just so you hear me out. So what I've done is put this document into 2 pieces: the process, which is the first couple pages, and then and then the policy, which is really Appendix A, which is the depth of the detail that we worked on that Lauren helped construct of the RFP policy. Yes, go ahead.
Are you going to share those new changes on the screen so we can go by them through them piece by piece?
I can't, but how, can you do that if I send that to you, Hal?
Just because it's kind of hard to, I'm on a device and I don't have a hard copy, so I have to be able to like read and see and listen all at the same time, so.
Yes, I'll be doing this right phone.
Yes, I'm going to email it to Hal right here. He's got a computer.
Actually,
Uh-huh.
I'm not gonna do it on a computer because it's my wife's computer, so it'll complicate things. So just do it here.
All right, because my understanding, I thought we were just planning for this meeting, we were just kind of gathering thought, or what's the goal for today? Are we gathering thoughts to move forward to have a marathon meeting to go through all these documents, or are we making decisions tonight?
I don't think we can make decisions tonight because this is the first time you guys have seen this document. I think tonight was kind of lay out a plan and discuss if the plan
Perfect.
makes sense for all of us. And then to go through the
Awesome.
documents in more detail, because we only have an hour anyway.
Right.
But I want to
So
talk
that's-
strategy with everybody,
right,
strategy to
that's-
see. For.
That's perfect because of the change in the time and the earlier, unfortunately, with every meeting moving tonight, I really want to be present for, really going through the dialogue.
Agreed. And I don't think, we don't have enough time to go through this entire document. But what I do want to talk through is, does it make sense to do this? Because you heard some of the opposition, some of the thoughts of others, and I think we need to take everybody's thoughts and considerations into moving forward and what's in the best interest of the town to get this document finalized. And the way I see it, the way I've had conversation with people is to get this moving forward as one document, two different pieces, process, RFP policy.
I think
Process.
that can be, I think
Go
that
ahead,
should be
Marcia.
discussed. I think if we're just like kind of throwing out ideas, I again don't feel comfortable making any decisions right now, with all respect. I think that I want to have time to really digest the document that was only sent a little bit a while ago. So I don't know that I want to go one way or the other. I think at the next meeting, when we have a couple hours to go through it, I will be able to clearly define if I think we want to split it or not. I do respect all the decisions. Again, as I stated at the last meeting, these decisions are coming in at the end. The meeting has been fully open and transparent, and nobody has sent anything in. And now it's a big rush at the end for everybody to send things, which is great. But then our meeting moved and we didn't have time. So I just don't feel comfortable making a decision on how to proceed, other than I want to review all the documents at the next meeting.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm just gonna go around, watch people have hands up, so.
Okay. Okay.
Hal's up.
Whether or not it's two documents or one, I don't know if it matters for us. So long as it still works like two documents. You just conjoin them. And so one is now connected to the other. The text should still be almost the same. But I want to go back a step, is that one of the huge objections that they had at the last meeting was they had no idea, and part of that's our fault, to what the TOP was doing. It showed the makeup of the TOP, and we meet, and how we meet, and who's involved, and here's the decisions they make. But part of the idea was that it was not a decision-making body, which didn't say there. It was strictly an information gathering body. So their comments were, how do you get anything done? It's too many people, and too many people with their fingers in the work. And the answer was, it didn't matter, because all we're doing is gathering information. So the people who are looking at it, the town council, has a complete book of information on this subject. And we really weren't telling them that too well.
Well, that makes sense. And I think part of what I've tried to embed in this document is some of that what you're referring to, but also, and just to comment, I do want to back up that I talked to John Bart. He's very supportive of all the work this committee is doing. He does want it to move forward. And John Bart,
John Berger.
him and his staff, he's very, so he pretty much helped me with a lot of this document, put it together, and he made some changes, and we'll go through it all, at a later time. But the point being, he thought the work that was done and the details of the RFP is all great work. So he's very supportive of what we're doing. And I can't speak for him, but I get the feeling he would prefer for us to get this done rather than push
So
through
my
the
next
3-page
question is,
document.
did any?
Portia, hold it.
Portia.
Portia, I got some other people that have their hands up, so let me just go
Sure, go
around.
ahead. I can't see, so I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Okay. I don't agree with anything you said, but I think there's two levels. One is the detail levels of what you do with an RFP specifically, or what's in or not in it. But the other one is the role, you said, the role of the TOP. So the document as presented, I haven't seen the update yet, was that it appeared to be a perform versus a recommend or investigative body. So I got a real simple-minded that says we perform stuff in terms of gathering data, as you said, and looking at what properties should be sold and what's the town's best option to sell it. But once that's done, then there's execute the RFP process, which I think should be town staff, not the TOP committee, which is what the document said. Having the TOP as an oversight that says, wait a minute, we gave you a set of recommendations. We can certainly go back and say, did you follow them? And if not, why not? That's fair. So I kind of divide it as performance and oversight. And the original document was all performed, which that's kind of the short form, and a lot of detailed comments I can wait on.
Yeah, and I think that's what this is going to present, but hopefully it does. We'll get to it. Lauren's up next. Right? Lauren, you had your hand up?
Yeah. Yes, thank you. So you had mentioned that you received comments from a variety of folks. Where is that incorporated in this document?
In various
Like, did-
places.
Okay, so
I did
can't
redline
tell
it. Yeah, again, that's back to portion. I'm not going to go through this in detail tonight. Everybody's going to have an opportunity to review it, and we'll discuss it more in greater detail at the next meeting. But because there were comments from, like I said, 5 or 6 different people.
So are those like written comments that you can just distribute to us so we can look at them in the meantime, or is that like verbal things that you incorporated?
I did receive some email comments I can send out,
Okay,
but some were verbal. I had many discussions with John Burt, but I
Okay.
can send out what I received email.
yeah,
To the company.
all right. Especially if you have like the town attorney's opinion, I'd be interested in that as well.
Yep, I will send that along too.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Bob, you were next, and Portia, you're.
Yeah, all right. So I think in follow up on what Hal was saying, is that I think the TOP also is going to score the recommendations against the goals.
That's true.
But we would provide some ranking, maybe not a rank, but at least a score. That's all. Just you met this one, you met this one, you didn't meet that one, you didn't meet that one. So the town council would have that information of how the different recommendations added up against the score, the goals, okay?
And what we compare and contrast.
Yeah.
We would have all the because we're also saying we're gonna have the minority opinions in there.
Right. Yeah, because the minority opinions may score well, who knows?
So it might come out to be, okay, here's a top score.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
what we're thinking, here's a second best, here's a third best, and
Yeah.
people would disagree
Yeah.
with that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Portia?
Yeah, so again, receiving this right before the meeting, I have not been able to completely digest this, as this meeting was moved again to an earlier time. And the whole meeting schedule got stacked last minute and folks had a plan. So I respect all the opinions. I so wish that these had come sooner. I am thankful to have them now. But I also think that for full transparency and accountability, I don't feel comfortable with the document, just adding those comments in. If they told you something verbally, they should commence it to writing. And I just think that should have a paper trail. So before we add something in the document, unless it's going to be your words, I think the folks that reached out to you should own their comment, and it should be commenced to writing. So if you could reach back out to them and ask them to put that to writing, so that way we can digest it.
Yeah, I'll certainly do that. And I agree, Portia. I don't expect us to approve this tonight. I just was trying to get something for us to review because the
Yeah.
comments came the last couple of days, and I just
Right,
finished
and
this.
Yeah, and I think those comments should be on the record, and it should be from their email, whether it be a constituent or elected official or town staff. Again, I caution that we make quick, we all want something to go through. That's wonderful. But I'm also okay with, if it doesn't go through, I'm not going to approve something that's just haphazard or feels pressured to make it fit a small majority of folks who now want to come around the table. So I hope that they're going to be more inclusive. I hope that they're going to send those emails and commence it to writing. And I hope that the dialogue, as we've had an open, transparent meeting, I think folks should feel comfortable attending or coming in or triaging emails through Mr. Burt. But it is town and it is FOIable. And so therefore there should be something commenced to writing.
Okay, any other comments at this point?
I'll just say, maybe we want to just go around. I'm fine with The only thing we haven't kind of decided on that's a real change that I'm perfectly fine with is Mr. Burke wants to lead the TOP. I'm all thumbs up with that if he wants to be involved. Like part of our I think what I thought was to alleviate him from that, but if he wants to become involved, that's one of our staff positions. So I think that's great.
Yeah, that was one of their points is that they were not, they didn't want the TOP to be not involved in the administrations. They wanted to be involved. That's why he's made these changes or he's recommended these changes that I put in here.
Okay.
Uh,
But that still does. And so we didn't have, I think I sent you some post thoughts on it. Well, one of those things that I'm seeing that it hadn't been incorporated in this yet, or it hasn't, was that to say that process for the TOP was that we meet. I think we've had some other discussions about this. And then each of us goes back to our own groups
Mhm.
and talks to them and then returns to the next TOP meeting with the completed comments. So you'll have not just your opinion, not just my opinion, not just Larry's opinion, but then we'll actually have some opinions from from an extra 30 people, as it turns out, to feed back into whatever evaluation we put it through. And that's how this becomes where the liaisons, not just the members making the decisions.
So I gotta say, and we gotta roll back to why this started, having the town manager chair this. I don't think the public's gonna react well to.
But I think it's different than what was previously done. Previously done, I think they chaired it and they were the only ones involved in it. If you look at this now, which we can get to. Well, why don't we just walk through the high level points? I hear what you're saying completely. It's not,
I'm blown away by the town manager sharing it. I'm blown away.
I don't feel comfortable walking through it because I have not been able to review the document.
Well, there's 5 of us here, right?
So, I mean, we got it less than an hour ago. I mean, like,
Yeah, I
That's
didn't
not
even check
fair.
my email an hour ago, so this is all new to me.
this was a, information that we're gonna review should be posted. I was not in receipt of it in order to review it. I worked and this meeting got moved up and the budget hearing got moved as a result and all my whole day is now condensed. So in full fairness.
we're
I'm-
not gonna make,
This is a working session,
Well-
we could go through.
yeah, we're not making any changes. We're talking
But I
through. some
I
of the
agree that the town had the control before, and I'm not saying they shouldn't be a part of it. But I do think that, there should be a process in place. And, again, I caution deeply that we move in a process in a manner in which we're just trying to make sure it's, consumable to a select few. When the community is a larger body of people who had concerns with the way the process was working. So, I really do think that we, as a committee, it's okay to take, a windfall. It's not about just processing and putting something through just because, again, if that was what they wanted, where were they 9 months ago stating that that was their interest? And
where we
again,
are.
I don't feel comfortable reviewing a document not knowing where the comments came from.
Well, we're gonna review this document. I'm not gonna waste an hour of my life sitting here talking.
So-
We're gonna review this document.
I would like to say one thing. I agree with Councilor Bordelon. I want everybody that's made a comment to commence it in writing so we can.
Or
We can-
Councilman
I
McBride,
will-
can you
I
can you
will provide
go through the
those.
document? Can you tell us where each section is coming from?
Yes, I will certainly do that. That's
Okay,
my
okay,
intention.
all right.
And just so you know, there's not a great deal of changes here, so I don't want you to think this is totally revamped.
Yeah.
But this
and
is
if you
just a
could
high
put it-
level. Yeah, I will do that. And this is just gonna be a high level discussion. No decisions are gonna be made. I just want to talk about the flavor of how we can move this forward, if we can move forward. Maybe we can't. I don't know. So the beginning of a document, the purpose. The only thing I changed, and this was on my own, the combined process and policy, nothing changed in front. The combined process and policy document is designed to establish and enforce a procedure by which unused or underutilized town-owned property that is not subject to the foreclosure process. Just so you know, one of the comments of the attorney's book, why is that in there? And that was sent to me 10 minutes before I finished the document, so I'm going to explain that to him. And is reviewed and determined to be surplus for future use or disposition. I added in and to establish an RFP policy for the redevelopment, reuse, lease of sale of such property. That information I took from Lauren's latest draft of the detail of the RFP process. So the only change there was to say, to really segment this into two. It's a process of how we do this, the total process, and then the RFP policy is the secondary piece. Yes.
Which attorney is giving us feedback?
Oh, the new one?
No, I have to look here, and I just got it. Rich Cody.
So with all due respect to Mr. Cody, I would like to request a different attorney give us feedback on it. I've not found his. In my experience, I've not found his decisions to be accurate more often than not. And that's with all due, I think that's all I'd like to say on the record. So I would like a different attorney at Sussman Shapiro to review it.
I will let John Burt of that.
But as I understand that he was questioning something that you're not planning on changing. You're just planning on explaining it to him.
Correct. I don't think he understands about the tax foreclosure process, how it's done.
No, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
You're gonna see his other comments,
Okay.
and from there, we can respond and say, if you think those comments are not appropriate, we can ask for a different attorney, that's fine.
If it's in the tax foreclosure process, it is not town owned
Right.
at that time, right? So,
No, it is town owned. If you go through a tax foreclosure process, it takes 6, 9, 12 months, whatever, then the town takes it over for not paying your tax.
yeah, at the end.
But during the
If you're-
process, it's
if
not
you're
town owned.
If you're in the process,
And
Then you can't
and you're in court,
even value.
Right, so maybe that's why that's there, that it's not subject to tax foreclosure process. I don't know, like I said, I haven't talked to him about it, he just sent me an email. So maybe he's saying, take that out, I don't know,
yeah,
but this is pennies compared to.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
the goal-
And I wasn't stuck on that.
No, no, I get,
Right,
I'm just your opinion and your comment, I want to try to get moving this along. The goals of this process has not changed, if you see it's the same goals that we've had from the beginning.
No change to goals.
Change the goals. Now, this is where some of the comments that came in the town manager, the decision on the disposition of town-owned property process is some of the feedback I received from John Burt, and this is where there seems to be some concern or questions on because it does state the town manager will establish a town-owned property evaluation committee that will meet from time to time. I inserted the words recommended quarterly because what I received from him didn't have a time. So that we have to discuss. To review town-owned properties, all such meetings shall be properly noticed. The membership of the TOP still includes everyone, and that's what I thought was important, is that even though the chair of the town manager is chairing it, it will include the other staff as deemed appropriate by the town manager. I did change this. I think the town manager had put a number of individuals, and you'll see that when I send it to you, a number of staff. I changed it to and include other town staff as deemed appropriate by the town manager. But we're still including 2 representatives of the town council, 2 representatives of the RTM, EDC, GHA, Conservation Commission, Inland Wetlands, and Planning and Zoning. So
2, I thought it was 3 counselors.
I think you're right.
Original said 2, we could change it to
Right,
3.
I just don't want to go, I don't want to go too fast here.
That's good.
Yeah, and again, fortunately, I'm just trying to high level discuss this.
So do you want to do this paragraph at a time or?
I think
Well, for this, we could.
maybe, yeah. But let's not get into details, because as Portia's indicated, I don't want to make a lot of changes. I'd rather go through a high level,
Yeah.
and then you guys pick it apart
Right.
on your own, and we come back and.
Right.
There's some major.
Anything major, bring it out.
Okay, so
Bring it out, raise your hand.
major one obviously is the town manager established.
So did the town manager decide he wanted to chair? Was that a town manager comment?
Yes,
Okay.
So then the question is, well, you only have 2 choices. Town council authorizes an independent group, or the town manager does it. I mean, I think, do we agree those are the choices?
yes.
Okay, so which do we get the opportunity to say amongst us, say this is what we recommend and let the town council decide? Or go with the town managers?
Are you talking about who gets on the tote?
Nope.
Who's chairs? Who chairs it?
Who chairs it?
I mean, we can all come to an agreement on what we want and vote, and decide, or we can make a recommendation.
So I mean, just to be very blunt, does it really matter what we decide? The town council is going to decide what the town council is going to decide.
All I'm saying is what our recommendation is, and then the town council has to make a final decision. But do we want to make a recommendation as a group?
I don't think it should be the town manager. I think the TOP should be over the town staff. That was the heartburn that a lot of people had on what's happened here in the past.
It was the heartburn the town that they chaired it, was the heartburn that nobody else was involved.
It's gotta be a citizen, it's gotta be a citizens committee.
I completely agree, 100%.
Period. Period.
Right, and the other thing, no
Town staff,
offense.
town staff involved, absolutely. But it's gotta be a citizen-led committee.
Yeah,
no
town staff's gonna be
offense,
second seat.
Our town staff are not required to attempt to live in the district or community that they live. We don't have that in our charter. And so I think having the community in there, we're the ones that live here. we're the ones that have to eat whatever development comes in. We should be a bigger driver with the guidance and professionalism of the town staff, but we should be the one, seeing what we want developed here and how it should flow.
Well, we're talking about two different things here. We're talking about the chair, not who's involved.
Right.
So
Right. But that's what I'm saying.
I'm just gonna, excuse me, can I bounce out to Lauren because her hand's up and I don't know. I want to make sure she's included in the comments.
Turn it to a hand.
Yeah,
Lauren?
thank you. So just kind of, I want to baseline the conversation. The way I'm viewing this is David's draft with the comments he received. And I think instead of trying to decide point by point, we hear it all and then come back when we have plenty of time to each individually review it and then start having these conversations. I don't want to get tied up trying to adjudicate. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I agree.
And then, so we'll just go through everything that's here and then come back next time and start adjudicating our comments. I'm so
You
sorry.
want us just to write our
I agree
comments
with that.
down and then bring it up next time?
I think we should review. I think we should review this as a first read, and anyone that has their comments, they should be written down. But I feel rushed, and I don't think that we can answer all the things in a timely manner right now.
Yes, I would just like to read this as a first read and then do comments later.
Right, but I think this group should feel comfortable to discuss anything you desire about any of these comments I make. I mean, it's not, but I agree, we're not finalizing anything, we're just having an open discussion.
But I'm saying it's hard to comment on a detail when you don't agree on the overall premise. Like this town, I mean, that's not a minor thing.
No, that's major.
Yeah, it is a major thing.
So.
It's a major
but
thing.
the other side-
But anyway, we've
That later.
The
But
chair is.
Let's
chair is
move on.
fine.
So my stance is the chair has one vote. He's just the chair. And so I understand you think definitely
the optics are gonna be unbelievable.
not
bad.
And
Well,
the
opposite
chair,
of the chair can also control who speaks, what gets on the
The chair
agenda, so the
sets the
chair.
agenda. chair sets
Actually,
the agenda.
who's choosing what properties we look at? Either the town council chooses, the way we have it set up now. Town council chooses, or the total chooses of the chair.
So I want to take a step further back. Maybe we're getting too in the weeds. I think we've seen even the comments you guys got when at the last meeting. Frankly, the reason I didn't show up is I showed up on video, not in person. This whole thing's very politicized. And I think not having a citizen share it runs the chance of politicizing the group, which then if that's what we're gonna do, why are we here? Let's be honest. If it's just gonna get thrown to the wind, we're all wasting our Wednesday nights.
Well, I think that's a valid comment to bring up to both the town manager and the town council, saying, we think it might be an okay idea, except the optics are bad. In practice, I don't know if it is, but if the optics are the problem, and that's what I'm hearing, it looks bad.
I think it looks bad. I think it opens up too much for there to be a politicization of the committee and the process. I don't think it's right.
Well, I think ultimately the council is gonna make the final decision. So for us to do what we need to do, we can have an A or B.
Right.
And we can vote, and at the end, it's gonna be 5-3, 4, whatever it is. We're gonna make the document's gonna be, we need to get this document finalized. And if there's a couple of things that we can't agree on,
Okay, I mean, that's fair. So then your A, B, and the vote was split this way, that way, let the town council decide.
yeah, because they're gonna ultimately decide anyway. So
Okay.
Whenever you can call on me, just let me know.
go ahead, Portia.
Portia, go ahead.
With all due respect, the town council had the final decision on all the terminations that have been made in the past, and we still got to where we were. So that is not a good meter for disaster or no disaster. Unfortunately, the town council is not required to be proficient in any of this process. We rely on our planning and zoning, our inland and our wetland. We rely on our economic development and our drivers of town staff to give us and present us the best possible package with all details so that we can review it and make a decision. What I found, and the reason that this group was formed, is the process in which I didn't know that Groton Housing Authority wasn't selected until the final end. So a lot of those things were happening at the direction of our staff, and town council were making a decision then. So if this change is still making the town council the decision maker, that's not enough. We need to make sure on the front end that we're doing the process and being more inclusive. And that's why we're making sure the council gets a final package that's properly vetted, non-political, and has major stops in it to help all development, Groton Housing Authority, and other developers that come in to have a fair, equitable shot. That is the
And that's,
process that I was
that's what
looking
we're
for.
doing. And that's what the
Right, and
document that
so
we have.
right, no, and I'm speaking about the amendments that people are saying, oh, well, the town council is going to decide anyway. Yeah, they are. They just vote, and some of it's spearheaded. It is sometimes political or non-political, but it's very important that all the work is done on the front end. So having who chairs it and the process in which this is vetted and goes through each channel is so critical to the final product of what the council votes on.
And
The
that's what we're
council
doing.
before was only handed, here's your final three, and this is the one. We only were given the preferred developer before. That's it.
Okay, but let's not talk about the past. We're talking about this document. And
No,
so-
I'm referring, it was brought up, someone before me said, the council in the past under the old way, the council had the final decision. And so what I'm trying to say is, yes, and in this way, you're saying the council would be the final stop, but before we were only getting the preferred developer. So we need more option on the front end.
Two different things.
Right.
We're talking about the council decision on the town manager chairs it or someone else chairs it. That was it. Nothing to do
Right.
with the actual property itself.
Right, so we're gonna move on.
Paragraph 3.
Yep, so
Actually,
as town manager, we have thoughts, and we don't have to go into detail. Some have thoughts of town manager, some has no town manager, so.
I'd like to make one addition to paragraph 2. I noticed maybe Historic District Commission was wrong. We need some type of historic overview involved. I'm still involved with the oral school and the state archaeologist. They're probably going to be a dig up there very soon. Not an HDC function perhaps, but I think just to protect any historical significance, there's got to be, I would like to
Okay,
see
yeah,
it.
bring that forward when we get into the.
Okay,
So
all right.
that's, but that membership is still similar.
And that could just show up in number 3. Right, so just one to add on to number 3, which I had commented on, sent the comments in. I left it originally, and now I'm looking at this and saying that when I have, is their current, future, the way these are phrased as questions, they can be yes or no. And the whole idea was not to have yes or no questions. These are things that need to be addressed so that whatever the write-up is, it's going to talk about each one of these things, not just say, yes, it's suitable for housing. Next question. Well, no, how is it suitable? And talk about, you would have some more information about how it's suitable for housing.
So you're gonna reword these as to get just seek
Be statements, just be statements about things that are covered in each report, not questions that are answered.
And the only changes that I made here were, like F, I added road or other, I think somebody commented it should be road or other town infrastructure improvements instead of it saying.
Instead of saying,
Water, I think it
is
said.
the property suitable? Part of it is all of these things that has to do with, I think I have it in the thing I updated, which is they actually get they get truncated into just statements of things that are considered. Not questions.
That edit that you stated, Councilor McBride, where did that comment come from in that edit? Was
You're,
that yours?
you're gonna
or-
see that there was a document that I'll forward to you that came from John Bird's staff, that there were several people that commented. And all they did was they added the word sidewalk. And then they added in, instead of, I think it said water main, or maybe it said water. Yeah.
All right.
Pipes or something. They
Okay.
changed the town infrastructure improvement. So you'll see all those comments.
Yeah.
But nothing substantial.
Thank you.
Substantial. So 4 is we'll hold at least one meeting with investor invitation to the residents from the surrounding area. Now, here's where we get into some details that we don't need to discuss today, but you guys think through it. The total will hold at least one meeting with the invitation to residents from the surrounding area. We have to define the surrounding area. I put in a half a mile. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but just give that some thought for future discussion. And then the town will require mailings to be distributed to all property owners within a half a mile of property. So this was more one meeting with an invitation to the residents of the property. So
So this is not in timeline because there's no recommendation yet that I can see. We've asked questions, we've got a membership, we've got input, and now we're talking about a potential development. There is, yeah, this is a good thing to do, but it's too early if this is in timeline.
yeah, you're right. The recommendation is 5.
That's all. That comes later on after there is a recommendation or recommendations. After 5, yeah.
Yeah, so 5 comes before 4. Yep.
Yeah.
So the TOP generates a report for a recommendation. And I think that is the same as it's always been.
How do you do that without getting the input first?
Kinds
Yeah,
of-
that's bypass.
We have two different kinds of things we look at. For the most part, some of it is to have a proposal at hand. That's one that they say, hey, we got a proposal. We want you guys to look at it. The other one is us just taking the number off the list where there is no proposal. So we're bringing in the neighbors just to say, well, what do you think? There's no proposal. We just want your input as to what would be
What
good.
would be the best use of the property from your perspective?
That's all it is.
That's all that
It's
is.
like a, not a public hearing, but
It's not,
it's not a public hearing, but it's a,
Well, I mean, it's what we're doing with the school down here. There's a
Right.
lot of feedback.
right.
so it's,
So I think there's two sessions, one before and one after.
that's correct. If a proposal comes in, great, then we talk about that. But part of these are pre-proposal. There's no proposal. And we're just evaluating it.
That step hasn't happened yet either. The receipt of proposal, okay, so we had him as membership and we'll seek input.
We're evaluating a
That
property.
seems to be step three, is we're seeking input, but there is no proposal. That's why we're seeking input.
Right.
Okay, so where does the proposal come from? I'm not saying there isn't one, but. So the time, we don't have to beat this to death.
Not in here.
Yeah, we don't have to beat this to death, just the time phasing of it
Mhm.
needs to be worked out.
But I think you're right. There needs to be a path for a proposal that comes from someone outside.
Yep.
Or we've got to make it property that we're going to figure out, what do we want to do with it?
Which I think I might have actually commented on previously, which was, there are the two pieces that you just said. If there is a proposal, then we have this particular path. If there is no proposal, then we're just doing this other thing. We're still going to check on everything on the
Right.
list. Yep. But there's a little bit different in there.
But
What you're
if you
looking
had a proposal, wouldn't you say, okay, we got a proposal, but we want other ideas as well? You know,
Well, if you get a proposal, then that's the discussion.
No, yeah, you're on the proposal.
That's part of the discussion.
Yeah.
how would you say yay if you didn't know about other ideas?
No. I'm agreeing with you. If you get a proposal, then you then have to get folks in and says, wait a minute, I have an alternate use of that property.
Well, we got to get the, no, we got to form the committee and are there any alternate uses? We've got to ask the question. Right? We've got to put it out there. This property is up for reuse. There is a proposal. Bring your other ideas.
If there is a proposal,
Yeah, if there is
not a proposal, then we're.
Right, but we're talking about if there is a proposal.
That would be under number 3.
So
If there is a proposal, then are there other unit uses that would be opportunity?
I just wouldn't want a proposal to get a front row pass. You know what I mean? Just because it's a proposal doesn't mean we're saying yes or no on it. We still have to ask, are there other uses from the other members of the TOP committee?
Agreed. Maybe
so
it's
2.5, let's just, wouldn't it be 2.5?
I'm thinking it's 3.3I.
But 2.5 would be a proposal or no proposal, right? And then you're going into seek input on the questions and evaluating properties. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying that it goes the same way. If somebody comes to us, hey, I wouldn't do X, Y, Z. And all of these questions are completely valid for a proposal. And the last one might be, if there is a proposal, would other uses other than a proposal be valid options?
Right. And be a minority option.
That's correct. Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
I think the last one of number 3. First, we take a look at it as if there wasn't a proposal. Is the product, is it suitable for housing? You want to put stores there? Is it suitable for housing? I don't care how great the stores are. Just look at the same exact questions. And then you get to the last one is, if there's proposal, then what? Is there a better use? And then that gives the minority opinion or alternate. And if the answer is, we have lots of better uses for this, then that becomes part of our report.
Okay, so we need to order some timing there
So that's at least
at the end of 3.
number at the right.
Portia, do you have some comments?
Just in all fairness, I'm flipping back between screens because we just got it and I didn't print it out. So, I'm just listening for now because I think that's where I'm better served. And if I feel, I'll raise my hand, but I'm going to review this. I'm going to review the whole document over the week. I will type up all my notes and I will submit them.
Yeah, no, your hand was up, so I didn't know if you had any comments, that's all.
I just
Okay,
keep
so-
it up because you guys are doing round robin, and so for me, I have to raise my hand to get in. So if you guys speak round robin, then I'm gonna just jump in. So I was just keeping my hand up.
Okay. All right, so number 5 will generate a report.
Okay, the distance, by the way, in number 4, just that, I think whatever, when you put in a zoning change, you need to alert the neighbors within a certain distance. So it's gonna be should be the
Should be
same.
the same.
It should be the same.
Should be the same.
Whatever, I don't know what that is. Staff always
And
just brings
again,
it to-
I'm confused. I thought we were just doing high level read through and not really making a lot of changes and decisions tonight, since this is the first time we're seeing it.
Yeah, we're not making any change on the document, but people are just providing feedback.
Where did this come from? This step of going out for comments, all these different commissions and stuff.
Yeah, that would be
didn't have
great
that.
to know where the comments. Yeah, that'd be great to know where those came from too.
We've already done this. If the TOP, the makeup of the TOP committee is should have already done this at a high level.
At a high level.
Yeah.
Well, you're getting a first draft. When the TOP meets, it's one person from each one of these groups. It's not the group meeting.
But you said we go back to our home base.
Yeah, since we don't need to make a decision at that first meeting,
Right.
then each member of from there,
Yeah.
and then the next time their own committee meets, they bring it up at their meeting. They don't vote on it. They just come up with comments from that body. The planning.
But if there are showstopper issues, they should come up.
Absolutely. But
That's what we're looking for, to me.
But it's quite possible that I, on planning and zoning, might think that sounds great to me, and I'll mention it at planning and zoning, and 2 people will say, holy cow, you forgot about X. And there's no reason why you can't wait for 2 weeks to get, well, have the opportunity for another.
This could easily take 2 months.
I can't see how it takes more than 1 month.
Yeah. What?
Planning and zoning meets every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, we cancel meetings, people cancel meetings. But you got multiple groups here,
Okay, but
it-
if that's the case, is it a problem if it takes 2 months?
Well, isn't that what part of this committee wanted to do, is to make sure we're going through all the detailed processes that we want to ensure everybody's looked at, and that's why that's there. Because you want to make sure planning and zoning, inland wetlands conservation, everybody has a seated.
I really thought the TOP members were gonna do that in an adequate enough way.
No, but I agree, it should go back to the commissions. I mean,
Yeah, I'd like to go back to the full commission, but look, here's what I think, here's what we discussed, what do you guys, I've already done that.
Versus the rep, like the TOP is a representative, be there as a representative, you're not gonna dig into the weeds of what this would be.
Right.
Okay.
and I mean, let's be honest, 2 months is not gonna kill a project for anybody.
I think that our 2 months thing is going to save them 6 months of work.
Absolutely.
Well, you should have a limited time to comment on it, so it can't be.
That's fair.
Yeah, good point.
It can't be unlimited. We either hear from you in 2 months or 3 months, or,
Maybe just one meeting cycle.
yeah.
Which could be different from others, but it could be.
Respond within 60 days. I think puts a time frame on it.
Yeah, so, again, we're not making changes, give comments, this is good, high level conversation.
Okay.
And then the details of 5.
Uh, 5C seems to me like a separate step. By itself.
Yeah, we can do that if that's what everybody wants.
Well, starting with the second sentence. A recommendation to town council regarding, okay, we're going to make a recommendation. And then the next step is the recommendation may, oh, no, I'm sorry, you're right. No.
But my point would be, it doesn't have minority opinions or reports in that section.
Oh, that's true.
It should.
Right. That whole discussion about. This probably,
That's how it was in the last
yeah,
one that we had,
but that's the place to talk about minority.
in what would be 5, I guess.
Oh, and by the way, for number 3, that's something I thought of afterwards, was that. I'm saying this especially out of a comment that came from the town council think Councilor Parker mentioned it, and I thought you're right, is that there's all these things we're considering by the numbers. There's a first, a second, a third. And part of the thing that the TOP would do would be to balance them. Because all of those considerations are valid. Certainly, we need housing. We need economic development. We need each one of those things. But some are more important than others, given that property. So that's one of the things that the TOP can do, is to balance those things in their proposal. So it's the seek to balance these desires.
Discuss a criteria at a later date.
Right.
How to do the balance.
That's right, but I just want to make sure it's a balancing act. It's not just a make sure they do all these things, because they won't be able to do all these things.
But I think part of it too, we talk about this last thing, retain the property for a certain purpose. There may be an RFP that comes back that none of them are valid and we say, hey, it's not the time to sell.
That's correct.
That's correct.
That's an
Yeah,
option.
right.
Okay, legal reviews, that's always the right thing to do.
Good plan.
Okay, now we're into the formality and the legal requirements of selling town property when it's over 3 acres or $10,000. You gotta do some of this stuff. So
What number you on? Because this,
well, we're on, well, six,
Six, seven.
have the attorney review it.
yeah, this all stayed the same. I didn't receive any
Yeah,
comments on.
yeah, okay, I was gonna say, we're now into the legal process that we have to follow. So.
Half
So 7 is the public information meeting,
Yes.
and the information is everything we've gathered up till now,
Correct.
right? All this input, all the different commissions' opinions, all of that.
Yep.
Okay.
Got all the findings.
Yeah.
Get citizens' input, make a recommendation. I added in the mailings.
So that was a good ad.
Number 8 says may hold a public hearing. I think we're required to hold it. Aren't we required to hold a public hearing?
Depends on the size of the.
I mean,
This-
maybe that's a legal question, but I heard the attorneys. I thought we were.
So that word may should turn to shall,
I think it's required.
It was required. I
shall
double
hold a public
checked.
meeting.
We've done a public information meeting. The information's out there, so. The hearing is a different thing.
9 talks about the general statute have to have a public hearing. I think that number 8 public hearing was not required, but the 9 is the one that's required by reading this.
It's like basically have like a pre-meeting, kind of get some feedback before they go to the full public meeting. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, the whole purpose of us being here is you don't wait till the end and then all of a sudden, let's have a public meeting. It's
Right.
like,
Absolutely.
get the input earlier. So I think that earlier meeting is more important than a later meeting. Excellent.
I agree with that.
Right. And then there's a second public hearing on number 10.
Yeah, but that's fine.
And I added in again the notice.
We also want to be inclusive and remember a lot of folks, we're a working community. A lot of folks, can't make it at certain times and, you want to open up so everyone has a chance to get there.
And then the town council makes a recommendation to the planning and zoning,
Yeah, that's just a requirement.
but nothing changed there. So 3 is actually the disposition. Page 3.
Page 3.
Yeah, page 3. So that's if the town council takes official action to proceed with a property sale. So this is where we need to have some discussions.
Now we're in the execute phase.
So here's discussion for us, because in comments I got back from the town manager, I think he had a recommendation, or maybe it was our prior recommendation, I'm not sure. If the town council takes official action to proceed with the property, a property reuse committee shall be created by the town council via its personnel and appointments for the duration of an assigned property sale.
It sounds like
That's what I received, but I had changed it to a property reuse shall be created. Well, I guess that's correct. That's what would happen, right? They would create a property reuse committee. But shouldn't that priority use committee be the TOP?
Why isn't it different? Well, yeah, why is it a different?
No.
It's a TOP.
That was kind of my question.
Yeah,
Get some unique set of folks.
We're done. There, yeah.
I mean,
Had to reread it. Was the TOP going to be a town manager assigned or a board, a person on appointments?
That hasn't been decided.
Okay,
We've all made comments on it.
okay.
So
why is
why is the PRUC different than the TOP? I think that's a question.
Yeah.
on the table.
yeah, I think that's what we're gonna talk about. I think the recommendation was that it would be a separate group because it's be smaller. Three.
Mm.
So that's up for discussion.
Since
I mean,
it's,
that's what we need to decide. What, should that be the TOP?
I think it should be the TOP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd this come from? I'm sorry.
I think that came from page 3, town manager.
Town staff.
Yeah, I think that came from staff.
And it's a what? A recommendation?
Yeah, just comments back to me.
No comments.
We're back again where the TOP doesn't make a decision on it. They just come up with input, right? It's a review.
The TOP's review and input, et cetera, recommendations, goes out. This is the right thing. Then the question is, I'll use the word oversight. Then it says, does the town staff are executing what we said was the purpose? And because we're not giving them an RFP, we're giving them,
Yeah,
a recommendation on the best use.
Right.
Then it gets translated.
right.
Then I'm saying that then
And they decide.
But yeah, they decide that it's so, but now there's the detailed oversight that says buried in the text of an RFP, is that filling what was actually agreed to at the beginning?
Could we have the author of this come in and walk us through it?
I have right here. It's from town manager Burke. He put in these comments. And that's
Right.
what I've been.
Right,
gonna
and it
send
would be
those
helpful. It'd be helpful
let
if
me-
they're sent out, and we need to be able to ask for feedback and understanding on these comments if need be. So the people who are submitting these, it'd be great if they could help us to understand as well.
I see where he's going, but it's a matter of got in this other smaller board. But it could have just been the TOP because once again, it's just recommendations. It's not a decision.
And you
Well,
didn't
let's-
have the
let's-
history that the TOP did, right?
Well, let's back up a second. I think where this is coming from is how we're using the TOP, because if you go back to the original document, 3-pager. Disposition of town-owned property, that if the town council takes official action to proceed with a property sale lease, town staff will create a draft request for proposal to sale of property. So
Okay.
what we're doing is we're saying, no, that's coming later. You got to have this go back to either the property reuse committee or the TOP, whatever it is, to make the recommendation. Then the RFP process comes. That's
Yeah.
that's what we're all doing. So we need to decide. Is it TOP or is it property reuse? Because that's the significant change from this document, right? We're all on the same page here. This document, which was the one certain councilors saying, let's just move forward, is the disposition of properties. If the town council takes official action to proceed with a property sale, town staff will create a draft request for proposal for the sale. This is what we're here to change, and our changes were to form the committee to review and then issue the RFP.
I don't get this.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'll be frank, reading all page 3,
Yeah.
I would scrap the whole page. The whole page was a disaster.
Yeah,
So if I may, just let me give you my points. So A, you want this created by personnel appointments who we've seen recently. What they say isn't respected by the town council, people that are qualified almost don't make it on boards that have been on boards for 20 years. So I don't think the community has any faith with that. Town manager is gonna pick the 3 town staff. I mean, the origin of this committee started in the wake of town staff and town manager making poor decisions.
But let's not look back. What we're trying to do.
But I'm saying I want to look at the optics that
Right, we're at a point, the town council makes a decision on the disposition of property. What's next? Previously, it was do an RFP.
In
I
order to
aren't
move
we-
forward, you have to want to look back, because the purpose of the committee is we are tasked to make a
not to make the same
change.
mistake.
So we have to, I agree, we don't want to dwell on it, but in order to perfect what we're achieving or our goal here, what happened in the past is why we're here. And so we have to remember that.
Maybe we shouldn't get too excited here because number 3 says the PRUC. shall create, there's the by that will create the request.
One good point out of
So-
8.
If I may,
Do it.
if I may, the
No.
I think point 3 is very important because it directs you to follow Appendix A. And if you look at Appendix A is not necessarily all of the individuals who are on this committee. It's very important in the RFP policy that you have both a diversity of individuals participating, but also a separation of those interested parties from participating. So specifically as directed in Appendix A, so long as there were no other changes, I haven't had a chance to take a look. Specifically as directed in Appendix A, there are no town staff on that RFP writing committee. At least how it's written. It's primarily made up of,
It may not be a good idea.
I don't think that's a good idea.
but the thing
May not
is, the idea is to conjoin both you have to know your history, but also we need to move forward. Yeah, the staff has to be involved, but they don't necessarily need to be driving the ship. And we also have to remember that
They're driving the ship.
this council is also not going to be the only council there ever is. So as much schadenfreude as we might get from beating up on past mistakes, it is important to remember that we don't unnecessarily constrict the council and their duly given by the charter rights to make these decisions.
But
The other,
Yeah.
on the point on that is that I respect Mrs. Gauthier's points. I think that's a great point. Also, when we're appointing the town manager to do things in the future, when we look at that, we don't know that John Burt was going to be here in 20 years or 15 years or
Oh, I
5. We
agree.
don't know.
Oh, I
we wanna
agree.
Make sure that, whoever is making the decisions, we want to make sure that, and I agree with Gauthier, we don't want to cripple, future folks from being part of the process.
And I know I've been quiet through this because I maintain my stance that I'm not making any approvals, decisions moving forward, anything. I'll listen and then I will make my own comments and submit that to the committee. So I'm sorry I haven't been more active, but I don't actually agree with the town manager directing this process. So I'll throw my 2 cents in there. That'll be the comments coming from me. But yeah, I think
Go ahead, Laura, finish. I'm sorry. I thought you
no,
were-
go ahead. I was done.
No, I'm just trying to say we're at the point where the town council makes a decision on a disposition of property. What are we doing next? This is where we're at, where before was they submit an RFP. So isn't our intention to create this committee?
Yes.
Well,
And so this committee should be created by the council. In my opinion, the mayor should select 2 counselors,
which committee? Which committee we're talking
the property
Oh.
reuse committee.
No, the tote, you mean.
No, the PRU.
She's saying the PRUC.
I'm looking at this as it's written. It says the PRUC. And if you look at the Appendix A does not speak to the TOP because the TOP doesn't have anything to do with the actual RFP document.
But what we're saying before is that the RFP will be written, and then what we're saying is that, and turned over to the TOP for review. That would be that would be the purpose of the TOP.
I don't think
Not-
that was the original intention of the TOP. As I understood, TOP was to gather feedback and then allow the property reuse committee to go off and make the RFP based on that community feedback
That's my
at the
understanding
forefront.
also.
Because if you let the TOP then review the RFP, that's letting the community in after the fact. And I don't think that that's what this group wants. You're incorporating comment after, and what that does is it narrows your field of vision as a reviewer, and it narrows the scope of possibilities as a reviewer. Whereas if we're soliciting community input at the forefront, everything's on the table, as opposed to coming to you with an RFP that's had changes, that's kind of narrowed down the scope already. Does that make sense?
I understand what
TOP
you're
is
saying,
in
but
the
the TOP,
forefront. It's not at the end, in my opinion.
but the TOP has already weighed in with a document that should be pretty thorough and have
Right,
all
and-
the input that the RFP should have.
Right, so they don't
Which
need to
means
touch
they-
the RFP again.
The RFP then, so the TOP comes to the PRUC with, here's what we've gathered from the community, the project specificness.
That's what you're.
PRUC writes that RFP for that property based on the feedback from the TOP.
Right, they go through the RFP process and then they get their the selection committee is different than the RFP process of the RFP writers. The selection committee makes their recommendations and presents to the council. The TOP does not come back in after the RFP is written. That was my understanding.
Right, yes.
Oh, I see it too.
Yeah.
I see it too.
Yeah.
The previous gathering of information.
Is there any?
I agree with that.
I think that's what it said. Now, here's a question. I think Larry mentioned it before, was that, is there a back check against what the TOP had originally said compared to what the RFP now is before it goes out for bid?
That's a good
Well, it's the
point.
town council action. They review they approve the RFP. They authorize the town manager to send it out. So they review it.
And don't forget, the way this reads, the second, number two, the PRUC consists of the same 5 relevant town committee agencies. So there is duplication. So ideally, you're involved in the TOP, you should be on the PRUC.
Is, just let me ask, is 2 instead of 3, page 3 instead of 1 and 2, an alternative?
No.
2, 1 and 2?
No, page 1 and 2? No, page 1 and 2 is the whole TOP process, getting involved,
Okay,
review all the
so
information. gathering.
page 3 is somebody's ideas.
Page 3 is the town, after the town council
After that,
decides on disposition of property. So all the,
Oh, okay.
everybody's been involved, the gathering of information, all that's been done. Everybody's been involved in the process. The public hearings have been set, the second public hearing, the public information, all that's been done. Now the town council has decided on disposition of property. Now the council says, property reviews committee, do the RFP.
Now,
So,
like I say, the thing is that bringing, excuse me, saying random people, because this might be some of us, to come in and write an RFP, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense. We're not experts in land use RFP process. I mean, the staff and may even take consultants to actually draft
Right.
it. The only thing, the rational thing for the PRUC is say, to look at what the TOP submitted and what was approved, does the RFP represented? I mean, there's a difference there, and I'm not getting that difference out of here, so I'm not sure what the intent. Do you get my difference?
Not
When is the
really. I
actual-
mean, they're gonna run the process of the RFP. So the PRUC will create the request for proposal following the requirements in the appendix A. Right? So
Running the RFP process is different than writing the RFP. That's the distinction.
Right.
To make.
who writes, that's document.
that's boilerplate. That's usually, right,
Uh,
town staff, right?
That's what I would say is town staff, but it's not boilerplate.
I mean, it's got town council input and a lot of it maybe, but the staff puts it together.
but that's the document that we have as appendix A
Attorneys with,
is detailing out that RFP process. Lauren, you can jump in there, but that details out how that RFP should be guided based upon the fundamental information from the TOP committee.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that policy starts from the firing gun, go create an RFP, all the way through actual selection and execution of contract. So within that appendix A, it describes a process by which to stand up a committee to write the RFP, stand up a committee to select proposals, what you should do for communications with developers, what needs to be included in the RFP to protect the town, and also to make sure that you're creating a document that is holistic and comprehensive and gives you a really good picture of what you're asking for and what you expect to see from developers.
Then you
I don't know if
evaluate
that-
and make a decision recommendation.
Yes,
I mean, I
Yes.
went through all that.
Yeah, good.
But I think, but what I'm trying to get to is that this PRUC, the purpose was, I think, to not just have the town staff do the RFP and be the only process. So now the way this reads is the PRUC is going to be involved, and that consists of town staff, 5 relevant committees,
Mhm.
3 councils, 2, well, it's gonna be 3 councils and 2 representatives of the RTM. So I think we're all talking about the same thing, but that committee's got to drive the bus. on the
yes. So
RFP
from what I see, this PRUC is the RFP writing committee as opposed to the conduit to set one up. My issue with this, and because this is how I see a well-organized, efficient development process happening in town, is that this PRUC will be running 3, 4, 5, 6 RFPs at the same time. That is going to be a lot of work. There's going to be perhaps some issues getting through things quickly, of things getting confused, of things getting prioritized over others. That's why I believe the PRUC should not necessarily be one and the same with the RFP writing committee, because they should be the conduit, right? Where you have the council and town staff working together to find qualified individuals or interested parties to help write the RFP. You can have several RFPs going at the same time, and you're not taking up too much demand of people's time, too much town resources. But that's what I understand. And then you're also reducing, say you have this one committee going and they say, hey, we got a developer on this. It would be so easy for them to look at a proposal that came in on this project and say, no, we think we like it better for this property over here. End up declining that developer for that project just to pitch it to them on the side. It seems very inappropriate for me, to me at least, that you have this one committee potentially running 5 RFPs for a bunch of different properties without any other external support, for a variety of reasons. So I think the issue here is that the PRUC would be the RFP writing committee. I believe those two entities should be separate. I think the PRUC should be a body of the council that then sets up these different work groups, RFP work groups, if you want to call them that. That way we have diversity of individuals' input. We have greater accountability. We have greater dispersion of duties, like just workload, so that nobody's, spending way too much time, pretty much an entire career writing these RFPs and reviewing them. That's my hang up with the way that this is currently written. The PRUC should not necessarily be the RFP writing committee.
Yep, I'm with that.
I agreed.
So we need to provide some details in here, who's gonna handle that process, because that's an obviously important process.
I mean, there's an
Those
oversight
details are
and
provided
there's a
in the
process for
Appendix A.
Doing it.
And again, to get back to my comments, so I think really page 3 is got maybe one good point, which is 3. I think the rest of it is not helpful.
Well, this tells us what to do. Don't we need page 3 to follow along? We still have to have it.
Yeah, we saw
You have to have something.
I'm not saying we don't need to have a page 3. I'm just thinking this page 3 doesn't bring a lot to the table. That's what I'm saying.
I agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
like
think-
I'm saying,
I think point 3 is about the only one that's valid. The rest of it is,
I think the author needs to come here and walk us through it.
right. And then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5. So it's not even an order.
Numbering didn't work, but it's okay.
I'm just saying, it's just.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot we can take from here, but we can talk about that later when we.
Have about 10 minutes.
Yeah, but I was the author of most of this, so I'm questioning what.
Well, you cut and pasted a lot of it, didn't you?
No, well, this was mostly me and looking at Lauren's, that last document and doing the evaluation and coming up with a plan. I mean, what does everyone envision before we get into details on what happens after the disposition? Don't we do that? Don't we we write the RFP?
Somebody writes the RFP.
Somebody writes it.
So we
Then
write the
what?
RFP and then we evaluate the RFP, and is it by the PRUC? It's gotta be the PRUC, right? Isn't that what we're here for, to develop this committee?
Well, they can't evaluate it, they just wrote it.
Yeah, you don't want the guy writing it to go.
No, I know. So who's writing it?
I still think it's gotta be town staff.
Absolutely.
I don't.
Okay, so town staff is writing the RFP process following the guidelines in Appendix A, right?
Okay.
And then
And
we still need the evaluation process as a different committee, which is the property reuse. Is that what we're talking about?
Step before that.
Yep.
Once they write it, you need somebody to look at it. Do a second, this is, hey, did you guys execute what was directed by town council?
Right. Or, no, so it would be, here's what the total came back, saying the RFP needs to be, town staff writes it, and the PRUC sort of, for lack of a word, quality control checks it.
Yeah, I would use those terms. I mean, that,
it's because that's the whole point of how do we open this more up to the public kind of thing, and that was the point of the TOP, was being this snapshot of public.
it wasn't, he's gonna write the RFP.
That's right.
So I'll take some comments given to me by Roseanne, for example. And I agree with a lot of them is. The TOP's got to get the feedback from the public. That's been missing before. Okay. Town staff needs to be accountable to somebody besides town staff.
There we
So
go.
they're accountable to the PRUC.
Yes.
I think that's a very oversimplified way of explaining how the two act independently.
I agree, but there's oversight versus execution. So I'm trying to push it towards the PRUC's oversight versus the PRUC writes the RFP.
No, I agree. I think town staff should write the RFP. This is John Goodrich's opinion. But the PRUC, they answer and are held accountable to the PRUC. Does that make sense?
That's the oversight committee.
So just to summarize, one, town staff writes the RFP based upon the feedback of the TOP. Two, the PRUC reviews the RFP to ensure it's meeting the TOP's recommendations.
Right.
And three, the issuance of the RFP, at which point the PRUC takes over, evaluates, and makes a recommendation.
I think the town council does that.
Now, we say evaluates, are we talking about the preferred developer?
I thought we had it set up that this PRUC is going to review the RFPs.
The draft RFPs.
Are we saying review the RFPs or review the proposals?
Review the proposals.
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 Okay.
Oh, the proposals, yeah.
That becomes the group that goes through the proposals. If there's multiple.
Review committee.
I agree with that also, but
Recommendation to the council.
again, I think it's critical that the PRUC has or the veto power over the town staff. So town staff can't say, well, this is the way it's going to be. Sorry, no. The PRUC says, hey, the TOP came to you with these marching orders.
You didn't do it.
You didn't do it. So
So they need
take it back,
to approve
table and rewrite. it.
RFP submittal.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, no, that makes sense. I think we're all on the same page.
And then we need, if you're gonna vet, if the PRUC.
I think Lauren might want to say something
There needs to
too.
Be a standardized evaluation criteria so that it's not biased. Scoring. Yeah, the scoring has to exist on a basis.
Okay, that's good. And what about the PRUC itself, the makeup of it? Is everybody good with this number two?
No.
No,
Yeah, that's good. We need to discuss that.
I'm
No.
not
So-
gonna yay or nay anything since this is just a first read.
Yeah, this is open for discussion.
I think.
Well, so
let's find a discussion. item.
I don't think two, if I mean, I don't think why two makes sense, because if town staff is going to be held accountable to the PRUC and it's run by town staff, you're kind of walking to the hen house, aren't you?
Yeah, no, yeah. It needs to be independent. Right.
Okay, I got it. So this is, yep.
Exactly.
So the priority areas committee is more,
And I
Right, so
will
we're-
wait to hold my comments until we review this at a later date.
all right, so we're at PRUC creates RFP, so I think we're good here.
Now you're gonna send us electronically so we can,
Yes, I'll send you this, but this isn't what we're gonna use for the next review. I'm gonna incorporate your comments and
okay.
make this better, because this is
Okay.
pretty hack.
What about the appendix A?
That hasn't changed at all. I mean, I think I changed a couple word misspellings, but it was,
I thought appendix.
that's the
good
work
when we got
that's
it.
been done from the beginning.
Yeah.
And when would you like our comments by so that we can have them incorporated?
That's a good question. Well, we have,
Because
we meet in 2 weeks.
like I
right?
know
We meet in
Lauren
2
wants us. Okay, and then you're also gonna submit to us, the comments of what people verbally and what they wrote to you so that we can review those, because that's what I'm gonna target to look at when I review the document.
Yes, I'm gonna do that, but just bear in mind, like this page 3 was mostly, I put most of this together. John Burke's comments to me ended at number 6 on the document, but I'll send you his comments in yellow. I'll send you the comments I got from legal or John Reiner, or whoever sent it to me.
Okay, perfect.
Do you know why he wants to be the chair? Why, John?
I think my gut tells me that they believe that that's a town function of that's
Staff function.
the staff. That's a staff function.
So can I just make a comment to that, though? It was 2 months ago in a meeting that came up, they wanted to hire him a helper because they said he's overwhelmed. So you want to put something else on his plate?
I was gonna say, they hired quite a number of consultants over in that department, and I believe they also hired consultants to help write that MOSA RFP, didn't they?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sure they do.
So-
Yeah.
If it's
I'm
a
not
town
sure.
I
function,
also-
then
I also think that we should revisit the other towns that have wrote their processes and I will reach out and ask them, I will read the document and see who is their chair, and the ones that we use to review, like Shrewsbury, Mass and all those, who's chairing those?
yeah, I think it's absolutely appropriate that if this is a decision by the council, there needs to be a counselor at the helm throughout. That's my opinion. It should be chaired by a counselor because this is a body of the council. And it's ultimately going to come back around. So it's imperative that it's being driven by a counselor, someone who is held accountable by the electors of the town.
Yeah, and I think that's what we need to discuss and make a recommendation. That's all we can do, right? We discuss, make a recommendation to council, they can decide, but our ultimate goal is to get something to council.
This latest document, could you send that out? So any comment? you make?
Yeah, he's going to.
Latest one?
Yes, yep, I'm gonna send that out, and then I'll send out a revised document, which look better. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes? So I'd like to get them approved. I got somebody.
I make a
Maybe I
motion to
heard-
approve the minutes.
Seconded.
Lauren approved first, second by Larry. Any discussion on the minutes? No, okay, all in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries 4-5-7-0. 7-0, okay. That's it, any other discussion points? 2 weeks, question on 2 weeks, we have council at 6 o'clock in 2 weeks,
On a Wednesday?
budget meeting.
Oh, got it.
Can we, does 4:30 work?
Work for me.
Well, we gotta be efficient because
Yeah.
this is not a lot of time.
Right.
No. I mean, I don't mind taking a couple hours some other date.
So they just moved my days off from Wednesdays to Thursdays, actually starting that week. So for me to get here, leave work early that night would be a little difficult.
And also
For
for
me.
me, just last minute, because as we know, we're committed to a lot of other boards, commissions, and other volunteer things that we do in the community outside of politics. It is hard for me to change last minute without a little bit more notice to come earlier. So I would have to move to another day possibly.
I mean, if everybody else can do that, I'll make it work with my job, but if we can, it's easier for me. I'm just,
It's retired, we don't care.
That's,
that's why I'm just throwing it out there.
is that the 19th?
That's the 19th.
19.
I mean, can we do the 19th at 4 to
I
give
think
us
we,
more time?
I think we have a budget meeting on Thursday, right? The 19th
We
or
do
no?
at 6. We do. That's why I didn't
Okay.
know if we could meet at 4. I mean, I'll send out some other asks on different dates, and if we can get 5 or 6 people there, we'll do it. It's just right now, we have meetings pretty much every night. So we'll tentatively book the 19th for 4 o'clock. And if people can't make it, we'll reschedule it, but I'd like to schedule that and then hopefully schedule another meeting. Can everybody put on their calendars just for planning purposes the following week, the 26th?
Well, I'm out of town, but I could zoom it.
20 to 20,
I'm good. On the 26th, I'm fine.
26 is what date?
It's a Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
At what time? 'Cause I'm off at 5 on Wednesday, so I could be here at 5:30.
Yeah, we can go back to 5:30.
Okay.
It's 26 at 5:30.
I
Does that
can do the
work for everyone?
26th at 5:30. That can do, I can.
So all right, so let's tentatively put those in the calendar and let's hopefully by the 26th, we'll have this document in better shape.
I
Awesome.
missed the first date. Was there another date before the 26th?
20th.
The 20th.
No,
Okay.
19th.
19th.
Sorry,
19th at 4 o'clock.
19th at 4 o'clock.
19th at 4, 26th at 5:30.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all right, well, some good work. I'll get that information out to everyone. And as Portia requested, submit your comments hopefully before the 19th, couple days
No,
before.
on the
Yeah,
19th.
I'll have comments to you or once I get through and pick everything apart. Once I receive all your information and all the comments, I will pull it apart and I will have something to you within 3 to 4 days after you send it. So.
Okay, and I'm gonna send a comment, the email from tonight, but try to focus on the second one I'm gonna send to you, because that will be better after these comments.
Okay, so was the intent to have like Bert come and talk about his input at our next meeting, or how do you want?
I can ask him, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea because if we're going to have, I mean, if the recommendation that he's the chair, he should come speak to us to why that would be imperative.
I will request that.
I don't know.
And
Maybe
the
answers-
other comment, can you also invite the attorney as well? Or get the opinion, the feedback on, the things that were asked?
Well, I'm gonna give you their information, and if you feel it's necessary to invite them, let's do that, but the feedback was minimal. I mean, it wasn't, but I'll defer.
Okay, all right.
Guys, once you see that.
Well,
if you think it's necessary.
I can't invite him. It'd have to come through the town manager, but I would just want to make sure any of these folks that submitted comments that that had, just so we can kind of deliberate and a comment submitted doesn't allow for dialogue. So it'd be great to be able to, bounce it off and maybe agree with them, but just to have that chance.
Yeah, no, I understand completely. I mean, the John Bird's comments were substantial. I'll send those out. You know, obviously the chair is an important one. The other comments are kind of minor. But I'll send them out there, but you can make a recommendation if we should have John.
Thank you.
Okay, quick meeting, but we got some, at least we're heading in the right direction with taking the original document and
Always a pleasure.
thank you all. Appreciate your time again. Anyone entertain a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Second. Motion to adjourn has been made. John, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And the meeting adjourns at 5:50. Okay, thank you all again.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No problem.
Scrap,
So